This is in Brazil, the year 1950. Helio Gracie, the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu champion and the mastermind behind what's known today as Gracie Jiu Jitsu, has challenged the heavyweight champion of the world, Kimura, from Japan. In order to qualify and prove himself a worthy opponent for Kimura, Helio is about to fight Kato, the #2 Jiu Jitsu man in the world. Kato was almost 40 pounds heavier than Helio and considered by many people to be technically superior to the heavyweight champion Kimura. This match is scheduled for 3 rounds of 10 minutes each. At this point, I'll take a few minutes to talk about the history of the Gracie family. At the turn of the century in Brazil, it was always a big attraction in the town fairs to have a ring set up so the rough and the tough could exhibit their skills. It was not rare to have international wrestlers who would present well-choreographed jumps and phony techniques, giving them the label and the appearance of real fights. Among those clowns, there was always the good guy, tall and well-built, who impressed everybody with his elasticity. And of course, the villain, who would win all the matches except the last one. At the peak of this clownish era, a name sportively clean, inside as well as outside of the ring, started to gain notoriety. In the beginning, with that Scottish name, it didn't sound like a Brazilian family. Gradually, though, it became known that the Gracies were not only Brazilians from head to toe, but a little more than that. They were from the north, by the delta of the Amazon. When the 5 Gracie brothers moved south, they had in their luggage a popular name and an art of self-defense that had its basic techniques learned from the skillful Japanese by Carlos, the oldest of the brothers. They brought to Rio the Jiu Jitsu, which was more than just a bread-earning occupation. It became their reason of existence. Carrying the technique and the dignity of that sport like a flag, the Gracie family would go on to write the first and longest successful sports page in the history of that nation. Back in the 30s, Brazil did not have any outstanding sports figure. When the popularity of the Gracie family started to take the shape of a national pride, Helio Gracie became the first sports idol in that country. Since the early age of 18, and with a insignificant weight of 140 pounds, he was the Brazilian champion. For more than 20 years, to maintain his championship title, he challenged and fought opponents of all styles and sizes, under the most adverse conditions, such as unlimited number of rounds, sometimes even half hour each round, with or without a kimono. It made no difference. One of his free-for-all fights lasted for as long as 3 hours and 45 minutes, non-stop. It was the fight of the century. Think about it. Just to be sitting in a chair for 3 hours and 45 minutes is agonizing. Imagine a fight where your opponent, who happens to be about 50 pounds heavier, is trying to hurt you as much as he can with everything he's got. It was the longest uninterrupted fight in the history of mankind. The weight difference was never a reason for us not to enter a ring and prove our point. We have countless times matched up against much heavier opponents. Helio, my father, even fought opponents double his weight. My uncle Oswald, also with only 140 pounds, fought John Baldi at 360 pounds. That's a 220 pounds difference. My uncle choked him out in 2 minutes. There were people still arriving at the stadium and the fight was already over. When the Reader Digest, in April of 1943, published an article with the title Boxing versus Jiu Jitsu in a Fight to Death, in which a boxer had knocked out a Jiu Jitsu fighter, Helio Gracie contacted O Globo, the biggest newspaper in Brazil, making himself available to prove the superiority of Gracie Jiu Jitsu by fighting 5 boxers on the same night. He never received a reply. During his fighting years, he also challenged the famous Primo Carnera, Exar Charles, and the legendary Joe Louis. They all declined to fight boxing against Gracie Jiu Jitsu. We have newspaper clippings that cover a time span of more than a half a century. It's an astounding testimony of this fighting crusade. Now let's observe the rest of the fight. Helio, on the bottom, is placing Kato in a classic defensive position. He's trying to put his opponent between his legs and get ready for his move. He will place one hand on the collar, and with the second hand, he will apply his favorite move, the choke. The effectiveness of the move puts Kato to sleep immediately, but Helio is afraid he might be faking. So he mentions to the referee, and the referee replies saying that he did not tap. Helio realized that he could not be faking for that long and pushes him away. There we have the referee trying to revive Kato. The strong man with a white shirt is Kimura, the heavyweight champion of the world. At this point, Kimura challenged Helio Gracie to fight for the world championship. It would be the first time ever that a Jiu Jitsu championship of the world would be fought outside of Japan.